All right, welcome to the latest LC Tech Hangout. My name is Josh Allen. I am the Tech Integration Specialist for Lewis Central Community Schools, just outside of Council Bluffs, across the river from Omaha. We are going to talk a little bit about Twitter. This spring, we have done a lot of social media discussions, and we're definitely maintaining that with the presentation today. So if you'd like to connect, there is a Q&A feature that should be enabled on the Google Hangout page, which is normally what I send out to people, either via Twitter or via email to our staff, as to model what we're talking about today. Feel free to tweet with the hashtag LCTechHangout. I'm using TweetDeck, which we'll talk about later. Have a column set up there for that. You can also post it as a comment on the Hangout page. I was getting some grief from a former teacher of mine about how my favorite baseball team is throwing a no-hitter right now. Hopefully I didn't just jinx it, but I am excited to be here with all of you. So 3 ways that you can connect at any time, and I'd be happy to answer questions as we go through, and I will try and take a peek at all of those before we end. So why discuss Twitter? Twitter just has skyrocketed in popularity lately. You can't watch a show anymore without seeing a hashtag for that show. Everyone seems to have a hashtag for an event they're having, or a discussion they're having, or something that's on TV. You can connect with others. If you're watching The Voice, I don't know what show is on Wednesday nights, but Wednesday night about 8:45, 8:50, you see people using hashtags to vote for, to keep people on certain shows, certain reality shows. So it's just a great way to communicate with other people that have similar interests to you. In education, it's a great way to communicate with students and parents. And for me, the most powerful part for me is being able to connect with other educators around the globe who are, doing some similar things. I actually, looking back when I tweeted out the link to this Google Hangout for today, I got into a fun conversation with someone in Arizona because I made a joke about how it's rainy here today, and he was saying that it's not rainy, it's beautiful. It's a beautiful day down here. So. Arizona, Alabama, Grand Island in Nebraska. So all of those people, I've interacted with here in the last 5-10 minutes. So just a great way to develop relationships with people who aren't necessarily right where you are. A little bit about our Bright Byte status. So this is Lewis Central Middle School students. You notice the solid color is what students are using now, percentage of students using different social media right now, and the striped one is from our first collection last spring. So you can see Facebook for middle school students is about the same. It dropped 1 percentage point from 59 to 58%. But if you skip over to the yellow, which is Twitter, you see that in a 6-month period or so, 6-7 month period from last spring to this fall, use of Twitter by middle school students has increased 8% and has caught up to Facebook. In fact, it's now the most used social network by our middle school students by 1 percentage point. So they're obviously hopping on. They're using it more. And of those students that are using Twitter, if you add almost daily and weekly together, you're looking at 44%, so almost half are using it daily. And again, if you look in the right-hand column, that is the never used Twitter, and that has dropped by 8%, which would match what it is, the increase that we saw earlier in the last slide for Twitter usage. So the use is coming up. The use for weekly and almost daily went up by 1 and 2 percentage points respectively. So at the middle school, it's definitely being used by students. Like most social media, you have to be 13 to have an account. So that's why I'm not bringing in any use by Titan Hill or CREF students, elementary students. At the high school, you'll notice that Facebook, which is the far left column, has gone down by a percentage point from 77 to 76. And Twitter, again in yellow, has increased since last spring by 6%. So still predominantly, there's still, what is that, 7 percentage points more for Facebook. So Facebook still is, quote unquote, ruling at the high school level. But definitely increasing. Again, Facebook decreased. Twitter has had a 6% increase. And then daily use, 45%, that's gone up. Weekly use has gone up. So over half of our high school students are checking checking Twitter on a weekly basis. And for the never category, that's dropped by 6%. So again, Twitter being used definitely by students at both high school and middle school. And you see that, while Facebook is still king for parents, and I don't have that picture here, I didn't add it in, but Twitter again is increasing, just like it is for our students. So a little bit of vocabulary, and again, we're talking about Twitter not only just for communication with students or parents. Even if parents don't necessarily check Twitter, it does become a public website that parents could go look at every day, similar to any Google site that you would make. It can just be that if that's all you want it to be. Just to give you a little bit of vocabulary, a tweet is, as a noun, is a certain thing that contains photos, videos, links, and they can only be 140 characters. So you can have whatever you want in there, links to different things, photos, videos, but all of that can only be 140 characters of text. So that would be the noun version. Tweet is also a verb. That is actually the act of sending a tweet. So if you tweet something, that is what you share out from your Twitter account. That is you telling your story. The @ sign, which you've known from email and whatever, the @ sign is used to call out Twitter usernames. So their example that they give there, hello @Twitter. Twitter is actually a username. It's obviously the company's username. And typically, if someone uses the @ sign in your username, you get a notification that says someone used it. So that will happen if someone replies back to something that you tweet out, which we'll talk about replies in just a second, or if you use it in the middle of a tweet. So, for example, yesterday I was at a conference and learned a lot about a Google gadget called Awesome Tables. And this morning when I got back here and was able to play around with it a little bit and create just a demo one, I sent a message, or I tweeted to those people who did the presentation and said, just set up my first Awesome Table from scratch, thanks to @LLennon and @SBeamer, which is their usernames for your work. And so they were able to get a notification for that. Hashtag at the bottom, hashtag, which is the # that you see there. Hashtags are a great way to find people that are interested in the same topic. We use it here at Lewis Central to kind of get all of our stuff together. It's a way to build community. We have hashtag LC Titans for any district information that you're sharing out. Titan Hill has done their own hashtag LC Titan Hill. Hashtags only work if you have a public Twitter account. When you set up your Twitter account, in your settings, you have the ability to either make it public or private. Private means you have to approve anyone who sees your Twitter account. And if your account is private and you use the hashtag, those do not appear in the general list. We're going to show you how to use hashtags here in a little bit, but just so you know, you have to have a public account for those to show up there. If you follow someone, what that does is allows them to show up in your Twitter stream, which, if you are familiar with Facebook, it's basically the timeline that you have in Facebook. Anytime they tweet something new, that shows up in your Twitter stream if you are following them. The number of followers, the noun version, I guess, is the result of someone following your Twitter account. So when they click on follow, the follow button, which we'll see in just a second, then generally you'll get a notification, or that adds to the number of people following you. And a follower is just a person that has clicked that button, and they receive your tweets in their home stream. Just like when you follow someone, you see theirs, a follower sees all of yours. Retweet, the noun version, is a tweet that someone else tweeted, and then you click on a button to retweet. It's a great way for example, with the school district, generally if the nonpareil puts out a link to one of their articles that has our school district mentioned in it, the Lewis Central CSD Twitter account will retweet that, so all of our followers see what they tweeted. It's a great way to share information with giving credit to, like they said, original attribution at the same time. And depending on what service you use, the retweeting is a little bit different. Typically, it's 2 arrows and kind of, if you kind of a rectangle shape with some bent arrows around them. It's usually pretty easy to see. Sometimes you can edit and retweet, where you can add your own information in, but that just depends. Again, you are still limited to that 140 characters. So just so you know. And again, the verb is actually doing that when you retweet someone's information that you are wanting to share. If you click reply, typically that is a button or an arrow pointing to the left. Generally, it's right next to the retweet button. And again, it just kind of usually will show the anatomy of a tweet, chart here in just a second, and you'll see what that looks like. It adds that username, that @username, automatically. And if there's more than one person mentioned in that tweet, it usually includes both, so that they get a notification that you're responding back to them, you're replying back to them. A lot of people ask, how do I get more followers? And what I always tell them, it's interact. By replying back, you generate some interaction between people. It's like having a conversation when you do that reply. Mentioning is a little bit different than replying. Replying is really just sending something back to that person. Mentioning, kind of like I said earlier, when I just put the @ with their username in the middle of a tweet, generally is just mentioning them. It's kind of like, if I'm talking about someone and I mention their name, it's the same type of thing from a face-to-face conversation. Just looks a little funny because you have an @ on there. So this is the anatomy of a tweet. Might be a little bit hard to see. Hopefully that's big enough for you to see. If you are on twitter.com, this is typically what it looks like, and most other services are very similar. You have in the yellow there, their Twitter picture. Anyone can put up a Twitter picture. It's a great way to share or to let people introduce themselves a little bit. You start out with a blank egg, but it's nice to put a face with the information that you're sharing. And where that's really nice is then if you go to a conference or a meeting or something, you kind of have an idea of what that person looks like when you get to meet them face to face. Their real name is typically on top. You can see in this case, Craig's name is bold. Their Twitter username or Twitter name is generally underneath it. Again, depending on the service, it may have a follow button there. You can kind of see that a little bit. It's kind of small there. The upper right-hand corner usually has a follow, or if you're already following them, it will just say that. Tweet right in the middle, that is the content, that is a meat of what's going on there. A favorite is if you like something, you can click on the star, which means favorite. Some other services let you do that as well. Typically, it's always a star. They save in Twitter for a while. We're going to talk about if this then that next month, and you can set up if this then that recipes that let you save everything that you favorite, kind of like as a social bookmark. But again, it just kind of, you're kind of giving validation to the person who tweeted whatever it was that you favorite. You let them know that you like it. Retweet to your followers. Again, like I mentioned, it's kind of a rectangle made out of 2 arrows, saying that you retweet what they said. Reply again is that left arrow. That is having that conversation back with the person who you're replying to. Hashtags, which again is grouping stuff together. In this case, you might be hard to see, but Craig used 2 hashtags. One was iPad Ed, which is a common one for people who are interested in iPads. And the other one is NEBEDU, which is the Nebraska Educational hashtag. We'll talk about how those are created down the road here. Craig also shared a web link. It's a shortened URL. Sometimes Twitter does that for you, which is nice, so that you're not taking up as much space. If you have some URLs, depending on what you're linking to, could be 140 characters. So Twitter does a good job of shortening them for you, usually automatically, and it doesn't take up as much space. And then a mention. Craig mentions Socrative in the middle, just to he says some amazing improvements to the great Socrative app. So he's letting other people know that they have a Twitter account. Maybe they're interested in following them. And also giving them a notification so that they know that he was talking about them, saying nice things. Some people use that in other ways, like if they, are upset with a company. I see airlines a lot of times. People will complain about being late or planes being late or this, that, and the other thing. And some companies will, engage with you for better or worse. But it's a great way to, try and start that dialogue with some different people. I kind of put together some links or a list of some Lewis Central folks to follow. I tried to pick some that are a little bit more active than others, at least recently. There are a good handful of teachers that are on Twitter using it for a variety of reasons. I just kind of grabbed these. Selfishly, I grabbed the Lewis Central Community School District, Lewis Central CSD. I am the one who typically runs that one, along with the Facebook and Instagram. Lynn Kleinmeyer, the new Titan Hill teacher librarian this year. TH Library Zen. You can follow what's going on up at the library at Titan Hill. Brett Weldon, who teaches math at Lewis at the middle school, does a great job of posting what the objectives for the day are, what the the same things that would be in his class, but kids get to see it on Twitter as well. And Mr. Dermody over at the middle school does a great job of he's shared pics from his professional development days, as he's going around, and just some generic stuff about the middle school. LC Sports Fan, it's our kind of unofficial news reporter for all things sports. Fortunate to have them at the majority of our sporting events, sharing out scores and results, and grateful for them for doing that. Mr. Ford up at the high school, sharing out information about science. Right now they're doing a shoe competition, bringing in your shoes for a donation. So he's been tweeting about that lately. It's track season. We also our basketball teams are on Twitter. Baseball team, I believe, is on Twitter. I think I saw that the other day. Track has been doing a good job of providing motivation for kids and encouragement. Great way to build self-esteem in the kids, and also keep everyone else abreast of what's going on when they're out at their meets. And Mr. Stopak up at Titan Hill does a great job of snapping pictures and just little snippets and peeks into the school day. The other thing that you can do if you're looking for other people to follow is, if let's say that you're really interested in what Mr. Dermody's doing at the middle school. If you go to their page on Twitter, one tip I would give you is to click on who they are following. So for example, I follow Way Too Many People, 1949. You could click on that and see who I am learning from to maybe give you some insight into where I get my information from. You can see, let's see, 1, 2, 3 out of the 6 here are all Flipboard related because it's something that I've been interested in lately. So all you have to do, if you are scrolling through who they follow, if you are logged into Twitter and you scroll down, you can click on the follow button for anyone who may interest you. The nice thing about it is that if you follow them and then you decide later that it's just not working for you, you can unfollow them. Typically, they don't get a message. Some people are a little snooty about it, and there's websites out there that you can go find who unfollowed you, but it's not something to worry about. If the biggest thing I can tell you is that follow as many people as you can, and then if it's just not meeting your needs, then unfollow them. Twitter is a great way. For me, it's customized professional development. I get to choose who I want to learn from. I can shut it off when I don't want to learn anything new, at this time. I can turn it on when I want to. I can scroll back and I can see what I've missed since I've been gone. But it's just a great way to, customize my professional development and find new people to learn from. And again, I'll do this periodically if I've gotten to know someone new or started learning through them, like Zigzags Tech is someone I learned about yesterday. If I see some of her stuff and I really like it, I may go to her account and see who she follows. Who is she learning from? Where is she getting her information? So that I can get that too. Hashtags we mentioned, they help you find other people. This is another way to go find people to learn from. I've utilized a lot of hashtags, scrolled through, and we're going to do a search here real quick in just a second so that I can see, maybe who else is talking about Google Apps for Education, or who else is talking about a conference that I'm going to, or something about that. Hashtags help you find that info. Also, just sharing links. When you use a hashtag, the benefit of it is you don't have to be following those people to see what it is that you're sharing. You have the choice of whether or not you want to follow them, but you can still see what it is that they're using. Again, you have to have a public account for your tweets to show up if you use a hashtag. Depending on how you use Twitter, whether it's on your phone or on a computer, there's different ways to search for hashtags. One easy way to do it is to go to search.twitter.com, type in a hashtag, and see what comes up. And I've provided a list of hashtags here. I'm sorry, this last one is a link to Jerry Blumgarden, aka Cybrary on Twitter. Has a link with it's a whole page full of educational hashtags. You can go there and find one that's related to what it is that you're doing. I put in a couple here to check out. Obviously, LC Titans. I would love to have more teachers and parents and students using that and sharing all the great things that are going on in their classroom, and building relationships with the community that way. Another one, that second bullet there, Kinder Chat, First Chat, Second Chat, Third Chat, all the different grade levels have their own hashtag. You notice that it has chat at the end of it. The other thing you can do with hashtags is people can decide on a hashtag, and anyone can make up their own hashtag. In fact, you will see some that are just kind of made up hashtags every now and then, which are just kind of in fun. But anyone can make up the hashtag for whatever it is they're interested in. Some people will hold weekly chats where, well, for example, last night, Nebraska has their own state educational chat, NEB Ed Chat, and it's every Wednesday night from 8 to 9 o'clock. Notice down at the bottom, Iowa's is they have two of them. They have Sunday morning at 8 and Sunday night at 8, IA Ed Chat. But it doesn't mean that you can't use those throughout the time. It's just a set aside time for, if we're talking about Kinder Chat, for kindergarten teachers to get together. I believe it's Monday night. First Chat is a dedicated time for first grade teachers to get together. So hashtags can be a way to collect information, collect resources, share resources, or in a chat setting, it can be something that is a set aside time with a topic that everyone's discussing. Topic related, so Kinder Chat, first chat, third, second chat, all the way up. Those are grade level related. Topic related, Google Apps for Education. If you, we'll actually do the hashtag GAFE for GAF here shortly, and you can see what comes up. Around conferences, most, especially technology conferences, will have a hashtag. The last 2 days have been the Iowa One-to-One Institute. And so again, someone decides on a hashtag, usually for the people that are running it. So they have hashtag I11I, Iowa One-to-One Institute. NEDA is coming up the 23rd and 24th in a couple weeks. So you can see the hashtag NEDA15. NEDA, since they started using that, has just used NEDA and then whatever year it is for their conference hashtag. So it's a great way if you're not at conferences. You can see what people are sharing. Typically, presenters will share their resources that way. And then Iowa Ed Chat, as we mentioned, Sundays at 8 a.m. and 8 p.m. One thing that I want to do real quick is show you search.twitter.com. And I am going to do GAFE, remember Google Apps for Education. I hit enter, then I can, on the left-hand side, it says everything, people, photos, so I can search for, or I can look at specific things. In the middle, it says top and all. Let's see if I can zoom in a second. There we go. So I could just do all, so it's in a chronological order. So this is Sarah here is the scan feature on the Google Drive app is my new best friend. So she does like that. She does not like the new Drive. Jenny Wright is telling us that Google is shutting down Google Moderator, which is fine with me. It's not something that I've used. Let's see, John Bergman and Mr. Nemero, not sure how to say that. 2 useful Google Drive tools for teachers. So sharing a website, which is great. You can learn more about Google Drive in that setting. So if I like this, and I think that he is someone that I would like to learn more from, I could click on his account. Pops up, tells me a little bit more about him. I can see a couple other tweets. I can go to his full profile, or I could click follow right there. So that's all I need to do. I could click follow, and it would, I can then close out and go back to what it is that I was looking at. Real quick, let's do, just to show you the Iowa Ed Chat. So I said Iowa Ed Chat is Sunday mornings at 8 a.m. and 8 p.m., but notice that it's not necessarily, that's not the only time that people use it. So let's see, Aaron Marr, I don't know if I pronounced his name right, sorry about that. He just used it 4 minutes ago, and it's Thursday afternoon. So people are using it all the time. I used it earlier. So lots of stuff. Again, you can find people who are tweeting who use it. Shannon Miller, maybe I would like to follow her. Jimmy, we already follow from our account. So you can use those at any time. It doesn't just have to be during those times. How do you keep up to date? And I know we're getting close to 4:15, but there's a few different ways that you can look at Twitter. You can always go to twitter.com. When you log in, this middle part is your stream. Again, these are people that you have followed. You have said, I want to follow those people. And so anytime they tweet, this shows up. It will show up at the top if you have, if new people have tweeted, you can click at the top and load all the new ones. There is a search in the upper right-hand corner. If you want to search a hashtag or something right there, you can do that right from twitter.com. And on the right-hand side, they do like a who to follow. So they'll give you some other examples or suggestions of who to follow. Another way to do it, there is a TweetDeck Chrome extension. And what that lets you do is put Twitter in different columns. So you can see the first column is at the top it says home for Lewis Central CSD. So this is the Twitter, just like what you just looked at, your stream. The next column I have here is notifications. So this notifies me anytime someone follows the Lewis Central CSD account, anytime someone favorites it, anytime someone mentions it. If someone would retweet it, that would show up there. Here is a column for a hashtag. So again, a hashtag that I'm interested in. In this case, it's LC Titans, and everything shows up here. Again, so long as someone has a public account. For example, this Megan Walker, the Lewis Central account does not follow her, but because she has a public account and she used that hashtag, it shows up in that column there. Another column that I have on mine is just for the words Lewis Central. So if it's a specific word or phrase that you're looking for, I did this because if especially sports, if sports people or sports writers or any writers say Lewis Central or tweet Lewis Central, it shows up. For the most part, it's right. For the most part, it's correct. Sometimes it'll get a little bit messed up. There's someone with the last name of Lewis that plays for Central Arkansas, and so I get tweets about him every now and then. But you know, that way they don't have to use the hashtag. I don't have to be following them. It just kind of shows up with Lewis Central. That's TweetDeck. The last one, there's a lot of different mobile apps for Twitter. Twitter does have one for both Android and iTunes that is free. There's others that you can pay for. They all give you just kind of a variety of different things. Everyone has their own favorites. I use just the basic Twitter one for most everything that I do. I also paid for one called Tweetbot for my iPhone, which is like $4 or $5. It was fairly expensive, but I don't know. I had an extra gift card, so I bought it. It is pretty good though. Just a nice layout and easy to use. But to get started, I would suggest just getting the one that's made by Twitter. So that is a quick run through of Twitter. And again, these are meant to be introductions to get you started. Please, please, please let me know how I can help out. You can hit me up on Twitter. My username is @J_Allen. You can use the LC Tech Hangout hashtag. And next month, May 13th, we are going to talk about If This Then That. If This Then That lets you put all of these social media tools that we've been talking about together and sets up some automated processes. So if I click on favorite, what can happen to that? Or if I post to Instagram, how can that automatically go to my Twitter account so it looks like I tweeted it? So we'll kind of bring everything that we've been talking about together in our next LC Tech Hangout in May. So let me do a quick check, and I think we are good to go. So we will see you next month.